Morning you guys, it's Karen and I am doing a review today of Minoxidil. This is the one I've used, the hair loss treatment from Boots for brows, for regrowing brows. And I want to start by telling you that I haven't used it for as long as I should have, and I wouldn't normally bother doing a review unless I had used it for the full length of time. But I promised you guys I would. I know quite a few of you are waiting for this review to see what I thought, so I can give you my thoughts so far. I've been using it for 6 weeks and I'll tell you why I'm not continuing to use it. It's nothing bad, it's not anything to do with the treatment. And I can read you the claims and tell you how much it is and tell you what my thoughts are, and hopefully that will be of some use to you. I've had thinning brows for many years and they've got worse in the last not got worse, but I think I've noticed them more in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, and it's got to the point now where I feel I couldn't go out without any makeup on because I have to do my eyebrows, and once I've done my eyebrows I feel like the rest of my face looks a bit odd because I've got these drawn on eyebrows, and I feel like I then need makeup on to kind of match it up, if that makes sense. So I'm very aware of not having any eyebrows, especially like last week I went to a spa and I was aware then that I don't have any eyebrows on because I didn't have any makeup on at all, of course, to go into the pool, etc. And I just feel like it looks odd. And for me, I do have most of the hair on the outer part, but I have very little hair on the inner part, and a lot of people are the opposite. A lot of people have kept the hair here, and I think it's just unique as to where it's thinned. I don't think it's to do with where particularly you plucked or whatever, but I know for me, actually saying that, for me that is the case, because for some unknown reason I used to think that it was good to have my brows starting from about here. You know, it was like, to me, the further in they were, I wanted very little brow, and so I obviously have over plucked this whole area here, and that's why there's none regrowing. I will stick in before and after pictures. Before and after picture, there's only one picture I've got, and from that picture you'll see that there is actually not that much difference, but there has been some difference, and I'll talk about that. But I'll put that photo kind of scattered throughout. As I mentioned brows, I might put it up on the screen as a cutaway or something so you can see what I'm talking about, that I have got no brows in this area here, and I'll maybe put it at the end as well as a still so that you can compare. I know that a lot of people use lash growth serums on their brows, but from my understanding of science, that isn't going to regrow your brows because it's a different cycle, it's a different process, but I think that some people have had some results in maybe thickening brows, making them more conditioned, that kind of thing, but it's not something that I would do because, like I said, in my head I don't, the science doesn't work for me. But I know that Minoxidil, which is the ingredient I sought out, and I was definitely going to use Minoxidil, is something that does regrow hair. It's mostly used for men, for bald men, but it can be used on the eyebrows, so I went in search of that. Boots have got many different brands. Regain is a big brand, but they're mostly for men, but they have specifically got one for women as well in Boots. But the one that I used was the Boots hair loss treatment. It's called Regular Strength Minoxidil. This is 20 milligrams of Minoxidil in this one, so that's the regular strength, 20 milligrams, and you're to use it twice a day. So the first thing I would say is I've only been using this once a day, and like I said, you're supposed to use it twice a day. I've only been using it in the evening because in the morning I'm just too impatient to wait for it to dry, because it's like a liquid. I'll tell you how you apply it, etc. But it's like a liquid you put on. If you put too much on, it's going to drip down. You need to be careful where you get it because it could sprout brows in other places. It could sprout hairs in other places. But I didn't want to wait for it to dry in the morning doing my makeup. I was in no rush to grow back my brows, so I thought I'll just use it once a day, and yes, it will take a lot longer for them to grow back, but that's okay with me, so I just used it once a day. In hindsight, I should have got the extra strength. There's not an extra strength in this hair loss treatment as far as I can see, but there is one, Regain for Men Extra Strength, which is 50 milligrams. This is 20 milligrams Minoxidil, that's 50 milligrams. But to be aware, it does say on it not for use for women, don't use, so you would be using that at your own risk, but I think I would take that risk because it's not that much more expensive, and it's the same amount. So I was using it once an evening. The packaging will tell you that it can take up to 4 months to see any results, but that a lot of people will see a result in 2 months. I've been using it for 6 weeks and I have seen some results, but not necessarily the results that I wanted. So I will talk about that afterwards though. Let me read you the claims and tell you which one, how much it costs, etc. So the one that I bought was this, and it's the £23.99 for this size, and this is 1 month's supply. but that is using 1 ml on the head twice a day. So for me, this would have been 2 months supply, using it for once a day. You can hear I've still got quite a lot left because I also probably didn't use 1 ml because I was just using it in that eyebrow area. I'd actually say if you're using this for brows, it probably will last you 2 months at least, maybe 3 months if you're using it for brows. So what does it say? It says contains minoxidil, which acts on the scalp to help hair growth on bald and balding areas. Can be used to treat a common form of baldness, which may be related to age or family history. May take up to 4 months of treatment before hair growth can be seen, and regular use is required to keep the new hair growth. That's something to point out that doesn't need testing, because it is just fact. If you're going to use this to regrow your brows, you will need to use it every day for as long as you want your brows to stay on. If you stop using it, your brows will fall out and you'll just be back. Not the rest of your brows, you'd just be left in the same position you were before you started using it. So it says check the seal is not broken, don't use more than twice in 24 hours, do not use on adolescents. Says in some people hair may not grow at all, so that's something to be aware of. We're all very individual when it comes to this. If no growth occurs after 12 months, stop using the medicine. So it's basically saying it could take up to a year for you to see any results. Regular use is required. If you stop using this, any new hair will disappear after 3 to 4 months, so after another growth cycle. That's pretty much all it tells you. It's got in it minoxidil, it's also got some propylene glycol, some ethanol and some water. So it has got alcohol in it. So the reason I'm waving this brush around is this is what I use to apply it. It is I don't know if this is an eyeliner or an eyebrow brush, but it's by Barry M. I bought it in Superdrug. But I think any kind of slanted brush like that, or pointed brush or eyeliner brush, or any kind of small brush, but I think the ones that are slanted and that are eyebrow or those kind of eyeliner brushes will be really good for this, because you can get it in exactly where you want to get it in. So I would just dip it in. I always have a towel near me or a tissue anyway, and I would just wipe the excess off of the ferrule so that the brush was still saturated, and I would just paint on in the areas that I wanted to regrow my brows. It didn't cause me any irritation whatsoever. It didn't do anything for my watery eyes. I was concerned that it would cause my watery eyes to be worse. Actually, my right eye is really bad today, but I think that that's nothing to do with, well, it's nothing to do with this because I didn't use it last night. Actually, it's more to do with the self-tan that I put on last night, but didn't cause me any irritations, didn't itch. There was no redness, nothing at all, no reactions whatsoever. So I'm quite happy with that. And like I said, if I'd been going down the route of using this for my brows, I would probably go and buy the extra strength and use that so that I could just use them once a day and I was still getting the same amount. So I guess the big question is, did I see any regrowth and why am I not using it? Well, why am I not using it is not because it's not been effective. I think that this would be effective, and it's been a little bit effective for me. I'm not using it because I would prefer to have a permanent solution to anything that I'm bothered about, and I have wanted to have my eyebrows tattooed for a long time, but I couldn't find anywhere that was recommended, and I couldn't find any pictures that I liked, although that's kind of amusing. And I feel a bit foolish when I realised why I didn't like most of the photos. I'd look at all these before and after photos on websites that did semi-permanent eyebrows, and people would recommend somewhere, and I'd go and look at the pictures and I'd think, oh my goodness, they look so harsh and so dark. And I now realise that the pictures were taken immediately after the treatment was done, hence the redness around their eyes, and that it lightens and softens when it heals. It's just like any tattoo, you know, so I feel a bit foolish for that. But anyway, I was recommended somewhere, I've been for a consultation, and I'm going to have my eyebrows tattooed. So that being the case, I don't need to regrow my eyebrows. I mean, don't get me wrong, it would still actually be nice to have some hair, because I like using, I've got an Anastasia brow gel, I like using gel to keep them in place, and nothing is going to look as natural as having actual hair there, is it? It's going to be noticeable, probably close up, that I have got tattooed brows, but I want to try it. It doesn't last forever. It's a different ink that doesn't go as deep as a normal tattoo, but I'm going to do a whole video on my semi-permanent brow experience. But that's why I have decided not to continue with this, because there just doesn't seem any point. Maybe I should, and maybe I could still show you, because you could still see hairs coming through, but it just seems a bit to defeat the purpose. I want something where I can wake up and my brows are kind of almost done, you know, that maybe just need a little bit of filling in. So that answers the question of why I'm not using this. Okay, so the biggest question is, did it work for me? Yes, it did. And you may not be able to see that from the photos. And like I said, I'll put the photos in sporadically through the video. Why would you not be able to see it? Because what happened is, and I've had this happen with another brow treatment I used, and I can't for the life of me remember. I think it might have been Librow. I think I used Librow on my brows because Lilash is something I've used with good results for my eyelashes. And I think I used Librow and saw some hairs coming through. But they come through grey for a start, grey or white, and they come through very, very coarse. And so they don't come through going that way. They come through like this. So I haven't got anything short enough, but grow, you know what I mean? They grow from my head outwards. They don't grow like that or like that. They grow pointing outwards and very, very coarse, so that there is nothing you can do to shape them. I could probably dye them, but that kind of grey, coarse, white, grey or white coarse hair probably wouldn't dye anyway. But you couldn't do anything with the hair because it was growing straight out from my head and looking ridiculous. It was mostly on this one. I didn't see much growth on here, and I didn't get any. I've got tiny little bits where I can see that there might be some hair coming through, which would make sense for the timeline. It's been about 6 weeks. But like I said, I did have a couple of hairs come through here, but they were grey or white and poking straight out, very, very coarse. So I just plucked them. So you won't see those in the pictures, but there was definitely hair coming through. Aside from that, like I said, in the picture you won't see much difference, but I can see, you know, when you can see tiny, tiny black dots, and I can only see it, I don't think I could get close enough on this camera to show you, but if I put one of those magnifying mirrors up to my eyes, I can see where there might be new hairs going to grow. So I've stopped using this now because what I'm worried about is that I don't want there to be any hair where, when I go for my semi-permanent brow tattoos, and for her to not tattoo because there's hair there, where the hair will then fall out and there'll be a gap anyway, if that makes any sense. I want it to be as bold as possible, as bold as it usually is, so that she can tattoo on some hairs. But what will happen is, even though I've stopped using this, I should still see some results, because the way the growth cycle goes, there is that gap of how long it takes for it to start being effective, and the growth cycle will already have begun, and so I might see some hairs coming through in the next couple of months, and then if I do, they will just fall straight out, and then no more will grow underneath it. So I can still give you updates and things in future videos. If I'm doing tutorials, you will see whether or not there's any hair left on my brows, etc. I think that is everything to tell you about it. Like I said, I know that this isn't a full and complete review, but it should be helpful to you, because I can tell you that this is known technology. This is not a new innovation, it's not a new fad. This is an actual ingredient that does work to regrow hair, so it will work, but it will only work if you continue using it. You won't be able to keep regrowing your brows, and you will need to use it. I think twice a day is probably recommended to get a quick result, you know, or quicker result. And it's not going to work on everybody, but I think that the price is not too bad. Like I said, $23.99. Or what I didn't tell you was the price of the extra strength one. The Regain for Men is $29.95 for the same amount. It's 60ml, and this is 60ml as well. It's just a liquid with just a normal opening. So I just stuck that in there, like I said. But that one it does say on it, not for use by women. So that's something that you do at your own risk. Something else I should have told you as soon as I stopped the video. I know that it's very strange lighting in there today because it's really, really dull outside. I've got the window open. It is mid-morning, so it should be nice and bright, but I've had to put my false lights on, and now that I'm used to using natural light, I can see the difference, and it looks kind of cool. And then if I use the computer to warm it up, it just looks odd. I just look orange. So anyway, that's everything. If you've got any questions, ooh, that was my ring. If you've got any questions, then please do feel free to leave them in the comments below for me, or anybody that's had any experiences with this and has used it for longer than me, then please do leave the comments below, because I'd love to know if it's not worked for some people, how it's worked for others, if some people love it and use it constantly, you know, if there's any side effects that people have had that I didn't have, because like I said, I had no irritation at all, which is surprising. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.